So good afternoon, everyone. On behalf of ADPC, I would like to warmly welcome all participants joining us today for this session of the Intern Talk webinar series under the ADPC's Young Professional Platform. I am Alice, if you don't know me yet, and I will be your moderator for today's webinar. Today's session focuses on the topic engaging next generation of youth in disaster risk reduction. Before we officially begin, I would like to invite everyone to reflect on a few short questions. Just take a moment to think about it. First, have you ever been involved in a youth club, volunteer group, or a student organization? Second, have you ever participated in a disaster response activity or a community awareness initiative? And last, if you had the opportunity to start a youth initiative in your community, what issue would come first to your mind? So this is just some questions that will get all of us started. And with that in mind, it is my great pleasure to invite Mr. Aslam Pervez, our Executive Director, to deliver the opening remarks for today's webinar. Mr. Aslam, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Alice, and thank you very much. First of all, my apologies, I joined late. I see most of our colleagues have joined, and I think in the spirit of the objective of providing this platform for our interns to present some of their experiences or some of their perspective on topics, not only the one that they are covering currently under a particular program and project, but any other issues. And I think this particular one is very, very important, and I'm very pleased that Khun Phumvodi would like to touch base. He certainly has been with us as an intern for a long time, but I also want to congratulate him for getting enrolled in the King's University for further education, I think starting from the next semester. And with his educational background of international development, security, and many things, I think this particular session is going to be very, very interesting. As I had outlined earlier, particularly those who organized this one, let's slowly make this intern talk beyond ADPC colleagues as well. So one is that I would generally request whoever is participating in this one, for the next topic, if you receive any early email from our colleague, you may like to forward it to anyone that you know, your network, because it will always be very difficult for us to centralize it, because all of us are busy in one way or other. So one is that, of course, we should also invite some of the external people to join. So let's have the wider outreach, but then I would leave it to the coordinators who has initiated this intern talk to come up with do's and don'ts for that. But that is what I also want, because each of us at different level of our engagement in ADPC are contributing for the betterment of the organization, and I really want to highlight the contributions of all our interns. So with this, I am looking forward for the interesting talk by Khun Phumvodi, and certainly thanks all of you to take some time out. I know that these days there's a lot of requests for all of us to come out and join online, but these are all part of our institutional contributions and associations. So thank you very much for all of you to be here. Over to you, Alice.
Thank you very much, Khun Aslam, for your forward-looking guidance. So now moving on to the main session of today's webinar, it is my pleasure to introduce our speaker, Mr. Phumvodi Hunrakul, who is currently serving as a Partnership Management Intern at ADPC. In today's session, Khun Phumvodi will share insights on how youth-led initiatives, student organization, and simulation-based activities such as the Model United Nations, can help develop the skills and networks needed to contribute to disaster risk reduction and global frameworks, such as the Sendai Framework and the Paris Agreement. Without further ado, I would like to invite Mr. Pumbodi to please deliver the presentation. The floor is yours. Please unmute.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Can you guys see the screen? Right?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Aslam, for the opening speech, and Kunalis for the warm welcome. My name is Phumadi Hundagun. I am currently serving as Partnership Management Intern at ADPC. Today's topic is engaging next generations of youth in disaster risk reduction. I see someone in the audience already joining in, both our colleagues in ADPC and members of the some student organization outside of ADPC as well. So warm welcome to all of you, and thank you so much for joining this webinar. So without further ado, let's get started. I have some experiences in the past working with student organization and doing student activities, which led nicely into our topic today. So let's start first with this question. What can you do in a disaster? This question is something that for me don't know the answer before last year. I didn't know the answer to this question. What could you do? Like, we're not professionals, we are not trained specialized officers dealing with this. But last year, when the earthquake happened in Thailand, me as part of the student body in Thammasat University, we were put into a situation where we have to manage the evacuation and creating an ad hoc communication center at Thammasat University. And then I realized, okay, youth can do a lot more in a disaster, right? So, which led to our topic that I want to share with all of you today, is that youth participation in DRR, or disaster risk reduction. So my presentation will be around 30 minutes. It will be separated into 3 main sections. First, we will talk about youth in disaster risk reduction. Second, we will talk about youth-led initiatives and organization in Thailand. And third section would be the actionable strategy for youth engagement for organizations like ADPC or other IGOs. And lastly, a conclusion and final remarks. So let's get started to not waste any more time. Part 1, youth in disaster risk reduction. Now, when we talk about youth, let me lay out some definitions. Youth, when we talk about youth, we are talking about age range of around 15 to 30 years old. This is from a definition from the UNICEF program. Youth are both categorized as a vulnerable groups, right? We are still young, we are still doesn't have that much experiences, and also as stakeholders, right? When we look at the bigger frameworks in climate change and disaster risk reduction, let's first take a look at the Paris Agreement. The Paris Agreement states clearly that we ought to look at the principle of intergenerational equity. When we look deeper into Sendai Framework, which is directly related to DRR initiatives, it says in multiple parts that youths are first agents of innovation and change. This means that youth can contribute, youth are active contributors to DRR initiatives, right? Some example would be technological literacy. Youths are often early adopter of trends and technological advancement critical for modern DRR. Second mention of youth in Sendai Framework is that youth have a disproportionate vulnerabilities when disaster happen, right? Because we're still young, we're still vulnerable to disaster, to effect of disasters. And this also means that youth participation ensure that policy on different levels actually address the demographic specific needs of youth. Third thing mentioned in Sendai framework is that sustainability and long-term resilience. Youth contribution and participation in DRR could lead to an educational foundation, creating culture of prevention for the futures, and also leadership development, ensuring a better recovery and better resilience when faced with disasters. And lastly, youth act as peer and local community reach and awareness. This means that youths are active participants in DRR, not only vulnerable groups, but also active participants. Currently, there are multiple levels of formal representation of youths in international levels. I will take you to two of the main ones that already happened in the past and serve as a major example of youth participation in DRR. First is in 2015. Children and Youth Forum, established by the UNMGCY, held concurrently with the World Conference on Disaster Risk Reduction. This venue is a formal participation level venues host concurrently with the World Conference to produce youth opinions and youth suggestions toward the global frameworks in dealing with disaster risk reduction. This leads to what we talked about earlier, that is inclusion of youths in the Sendai framework in Article 7, 19, and 36. Second platform that I would like to highlight here is the Young Scientist platform, also by UNMGCY. This one held concurrently with 2019 Global Platform on DRR. What this produced is the strategy for youths to contribute to the implementation of the Sendai framework. This means a youth dimension to the Sendai framework for priorities. What this means is that, okay, we already have formal representation of youths on international levels. But when dealing with implementation, we also have another dimension, that is the localization part. How can youth contribute more toward the implementation and the priorities of the new action? It highlights four translation of the four main priorities for Sendai framework into a kind of a youth-led programs, right? Youth-related programs. When we talk about the first priority, understanding risk, understanding disaster risk, when we translate it into children and youth's perspective, we are talking about children and youth as an active participant in assessing disaster risk in a creative and collaborative way, right? With data reflecting on their demographics. Second priority is strengthening disaster risk governance to manage disaster risk. When we translate it into the youth perspective and implementation, we talk about empowering programs that strengthen youth voice and agency. This includes student organization that we're going to talk in this session as well. The third one, investing in DRR for resilience. We talk about knowledge and aid appropriate resources for children and youth to participate in DRR at home and at school or at works with their communities to build resilience that way. Fourth priority is enhancing disaster preparedness for effective response and build back better. Right, this one talk about, when we translate this one into youth implementation perspective, we talk about capacity building with an understanding of safe practice for as determined by their age and abilities. This means more resilience for youths in recovery and in response to the hazardous events. So with these three, I create some sort of icon for us to follow easily throughout the presentation today. The first one is red, the second one is purple, the third one is orange, and the fourth one is turquoise. Before we move on to the student organization related to the implementation of the four priority of the Sendai framework, let me talk about the theoretical frameworks of youth participations. This one is a Roger Hart's letter of participation. It says that there are 8 rounds. This is kind of, imagine this as a letter. There are 8 rounds of youth participation, from manipulation of policy to the child initiated or youth initiated and share that decision with adults. Formal representation at high level conference concurrently with World Conference or Global Conference are around rank 7 to rank 8. That means youths manage, direct, and initiate the organization of the youth forum, while sharing those decisions, those proposals with adults to include in global level or in policy level framework, such as the Sendai framework. But after we talk about that, right, we already have the great participation in the international levels, localization of disaster risk reduction, and ensuring the implementation and the accessibility of those Sendai framework is also important. This means that a multi-dimensional approach is required. This means that it involves adding up a bottom-up capacity building for youths. And what I want to talk about today is that youth-led or youth initiative organization could be that change agent. This is to our second part of this presentation, that is student and youth-led organizations, mainly in Thailand, because I have experience here and I do some research on them for this webinar session, and I would like to share some types of student or youth-led organization for you guys. This is the overall overview of the 4 types of organization that I would like to highlight here today. Call back to Hart's theory. Most of these type of organization are around rank 7. That means it is young people initiated and directed. It's relating to student-led activism. But the decision or the proposal or the takeaways from these activities hasn't or haven't been included in national level policy. But what it means is also that it has autonomy from larger event or from higher level event as well, which is also needed in a multi-dimensional approaches. 4 types of organization here that I would like to highlight. First is conservation or environmental clubs. Secondly is voluntary clubs. Thirdly is the student council, student union, or student organization. And lastly is model UN or simulation clubs. These will play different roles in contributing to the Sendai framework implementations. These are the selected 30 universities, for example, in this presentation, in this webinar. On the left side is the 20th largest university, public university in Thailand. On the right side is the 10 largest private university in Thailand in terms of number of students. So let's get into it. This is the overview of the correlation between youth Sendai framework priorities and SDG goals. On the left side, we will talk about the how can each type of club contribute to each priority in details, but this is the overall overview of the model that I'll be talking about today. First, let's start with the conservation and environmental clubs. These type of clubs focus on environmental and conservation studies, environmental impact and disasters, in also sustainability with goals to spread awareness among youths. Some of the activities are seminar, webinar like this one, field trips, or activity camps. Some example, like for example, Thammasat University Conservationist Club, they also had specific topic in certain year. Like last year, they talk about forest fire and shoreline deteriorations. The network in Thailand currently, they have an active network in at least 12 universities. So there's some network there existing already. Some of the challenge are lack of funding and specialized professionals. They are still university students, but passionate members about environmental things. Potentials for this type of clubs is that they have passionate members about the environment, they have robust network of peers and local partners, and they have high outreach among youths because it's kind of a trend, right? Their activities contributed to all 4 of the priorities of the Sendai framework implementation in terms of youth engagement. First, they raise awareness, of course. Second thing is that create platform for youth and local voices into priority 2. Thirdly, when they go and do a field trip, they also have local tools or knowledge exchange with local leaders, local entrepreneurs, or young people working in their local areas. And lastly, sometimes they also spread awareness about disasters. Like when for some example, when they went down to the south of Thailand, southern part of Thailand, they also talk about how to spot disaster like tsunami, for example. What are the warning signs of disasters? Second type of club is voluntary clubs, or in Thai we call it ASA. Usually, this type of club host on-site camping events in less developed communities or hill communities in the provinces. They often have close collaboration with local leaders, community, or initiatives. Some of the activities, they include building local infrastructure. When I say building, it's like building actual buildings, assisting locals in their day-to-day life, or importantly, teaching local children and youths, and also fundraising. Their networks estimate to be around 56 clubs, one or more per university. Some university might have more this type of club on university level and faculty level as well. For example, Thammasat University alone have 13 clubs. Some of the challenge is the raising funding and transportation, because they have to go to far-flung event, far-flung province. But the sheer quantities of these type of clubs and local connections and their high social media engagement is a great potential for this type of club to contribute to the 4 priority of the Sendai framework. That is, they raise awareness, they represent local voices via CSR programs. They also do small-scale local infrastructure toward resilience. And lastly, they also, similarly to the environmental club, talk about disaster awareness. For example, when they went to the northern part of Thailand, they also talk about how to spot or how to deal with landslide. Third type of organization, this one is the type of organization that I participated in. I was the president of the Thammasat University Student Council. This type of student body, they are established to administer student activities, assisting the university with events or programs. This could be the academic type of event, official event, or like concert. And they also serve as the voice of students with varying degrees of responsibility according to each charter in each university. What I want to highlight here is that they have roles in disasters, like actual roles in disasters. So because they have high communication with students and local communities. For example, Chiang Mai and Mae Fah Luang University, they communicate about PM 2.5 in the northern part of Thailand, and they talk about the flooding in the northern part of Thailand as well. In the south, just happened last year, Prince of Songkhla University, they were very active in communicating and relief effort and communicating the situation in the southern region. For Thammasat University, I see in the audience we have the president of Thammasat University Student Union here as well. When the earthquake happened last year, we also did set up emergency communication center and evacuation during earthquakes. And major university, they also serve as disaster relief center as a hub for donation and technical volunteers for those universities that have engineers or specialized in electrician. Almost all university in Thailand has one. In the 30 universities here in this presentation, all of them have one. So they have multiple levels as well. Some has organization at the faculty level, and some have only at the university level. But what is a very positive impact of this type of organization is that they have massive engagement and connection with students and clubs, because they serve as a hub for activities in each university. They also have formal and informal networks between university, like Federation of Student Organization or informal session between student council or student union of each university. So there are vast network here. Some of the challenge is that they lack specialized professionals, lack of guidance in terms of relating to DRR, and some are constrained by budget and year plan. And disaster response are often on an ad hoc basis. This is one I could contribute this one in my direct experiences. When it happened, I don't really have specialization in terms of disaster management or disaster response, but we did what we can in order to communicate to as much student as fast as accurate as possible. This type of organization contributed to three priorities in Sendai framework. First, national and local and university level policy for the strengthening disaster risk governance. They also provide communication and providing tools for resilience, especially in the local communities, like communities around the university itself. And lastly, capacity building to emergency practice and knowledge exchange. They could hold webinars, they could hold campaigns, they could host a seminar to build capacity to effectively respond to disaster if it happen again in the future. Last type of organization I wanted to highlight here is the model UN or simulation clubs. This type of UN, this type of MUN clubs, they provide a dynamic environment for developing essential hard and soft skills that are directly transferable to professional settings or future careers. This means that this type of club form like sort of a future network and building up their career trajectories. And what is also important to mention is that those that participate in this type of clubs, they also leads to a what some experts call proactive volunteering, meaning they want to step out of the simulation bubble and to join actual initiatives like NGOs or government bodies or volunteer groups. Activities in this type of simulation or simulation events or this type of competitions include UNEA simulations, UNCA simulations, or crisis simulations. They role play as diplomats responding to disaster, to a makeshift disaster situation and work out a draft resolution in order to combat with it. Network in Thailand, we have organization called Moon Network Thailand with 8 clubs with total participants of around 800 to 1,000 people per year. We also have like international network like IEMUN by International Global Networks that host the events in Bangkok every year as well. Some of the challenges is that they focus on academic part and the simulation part, and they often lack disaster related and technical knowledge when they're trying to do a simulation relating to disaster risk reduction. When we do this kind of simulation clubs, the result of this event is draft resolution, but this draft resolution still we don't have a pathway to move toward a policy contribution. But potentials for MUN clubs in Thailand is that they have partners with ministry like the foreign ministry or local and university level volunteers or academic organizations, and they are very active. What can they contribute to priority 1 and 2 in Sendai framework? For priority 1, they could raise awareness of DR framework and international process on the global level, right? Because these are future diplomats. They create networks for the future. This one, when you create a network for the future, it means that they could create a future network for resilience and for future DR initiatives. This led to my last part in this presentation, actionable strategy for youth engagement. Here, I outlined 3 main strategies and 2 actionable programs that organizations like ADPC or IGO could take in order to engage more with youths. First is that when we talk about some of our organizations like ADPC, for example, it doesn't have direct mandates over youth, right? But it is also another dimension of contributing to Sendai framework as well. So without disrupting operation too much, I think webinar or office visit could be a very effective way to raise awareness and media outreach among youths. For example, this webinar, we have my dear colleagues in ADPC and also representative from student organization joining in. Second is positive youth development as a core value for this type of strategy. It calls for 5 C's: competence, confidence, connection, character, and caring in youths, which all of these contribute to youth's contribution to DR in the futures and today. And lastly is that I highlight the existing network That means to engage with youths, you don't have to create a new network or form new network from scratch. There are already existing networks of youth organization and youth organization with local connection as well. So we could create a decentralized, adaptable campaigns when we talk about engaging with youths. This leads to two main actionable programs that we could take, or 𝐼𝐧𝐼GO could take. That is building digital presence. Currently, social media platform could be a very effective way to communicate and to raise awareness and to broaden our outreach toward other generations. ADPC, for example, is very well established within professional DR circles. But if you want to engage with youths or create this influence among youths, targeted digital effort are the most efficient way to kickstart outreach to these type of networks. And building on the first actionable strategy is that supporting youth-led advocacy through a scalable technical advice. This means that organizations such as ADPC and 𝐼𝐧𝐼GO that doesn't have direct mandate in youth engagement could enable youth-led networks to initiate and request data support on their own terms. This means having this network initiate their own campaign, their own campaign, their own activities, but they could also come to ADPC or 𝐼𝐧𝐼GO for advice, for technical advice, for documents, for technical advice, for documents, to have their programs, they have their initiative be scientifically and theoretically sound, right? But ADPC or other organization doesn't have to directly engage with them because there are so many of them. This also creates a decentralizing effort for these type of local campaigns or local organizations to do their own things in their own way. This is the summary of what I have talked about so far. So on the left side is the first strategy to build a digital presence with types, with some example that could work toward these different types of organization. Like for example, with conservation, environmental or voluntary clubs, holding webinar or sending online speaker would be effective way to raise awareness about ADPC or to raise awareness about DRR in general. For student council union organization, promoting disaster risk reduction campaign on university level could be very effective way to have the student understand about how to deal with disasters or how to correctly respond to catastrophic events. And lastly, for the MUN or simulation clubs, a technical reviews of simulated draft resolution or partnerships in some events or in some competition that related to disaster risk reduction could be beneficial. All of these contribute to the 4 priority of the Sendai frameworks and also ultimately contributed to SDG goals. So let's end this my session in this webinar on this note. Amplifying youth voice and making progress today while securing a sustainable talent ecosystem for tomorrow DRR professionals. These initiatives could lead to this result here today and for a resilient and sustainable network tomorrow. Thank you so much. That's the end of my presentation.
Thank you very much, Pumbadi, for the very insightful presentation and for sharing your perspectives on engaging youth in disaster risk reduction. I would also like to extend my sincere thanks to all participants for joining us today and for your interest in the topic. We hope today's sessions has provided useful insights and inspiration for the further collaboration between youth networks, university, and organizations working in this field. To conclude the session, before we close, I would like to encourage everyone to stay tuned for the next session of the Interns Talk webinar series under the ADPC's Young Professional platform, where we will continue to explore ideas and perspectives from emerging professionals. On behalf of ADPC and on behalf of Mr. Aslam, thank you once again for joining us and have a wonderful day. And this concludes our webinar. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye bye. Thank you.
สวัสดีค่ะ